everybody. Welcome to the Going Analog podcast, where we talk about games and a topic about games. So I'm Christina, your host, and today we have a wonderful guest, Alex Cutler. We went to Gen Con this past year, and I swear we're going to stop talking about Gen Con, but I feel like every game was your game there, Alex. No?
I had a busy show. Yeah. Yes. I had 4 things.
And so he was the former head of development of games at Pandasaurus Games, now a full-time game designer, which is really awesome. We talked a lot about one of my favorite games from the con, which was Alex's design, which was a place for all my books, about collecting books and getting enough social battery to go get more books. It was fantastic. Love it, and have been playing it a lot. So welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you said, 4 or 5 games at the show?
4 games at the show.
4 games. Yeah. Okay. What were the other games again?
So we had A Place for All My Books, which was about collecting books. We had Critter Kitchen, which has been out for a little while, but it was the first US show, so I wanted to count it. I had one called Widget's Workshop, which is a little game about building mechs and robots out of a junk pile, kind of. And then one called Solar Gardens, which was about building rooftop gardens in like a happy solar punk kind of future.
Yeah, solar punk is much nicer than the cyberpunk that Shu likes, my other co-host here. Hi, Shu.
Hello. Why is it nicer?
It's just brighter. Your cyberpunk stuff that you love is so dark and just I don't know. Whatever.
So dystopian.
So many drugs. It's fine. So what is the topic you're bringing for us today?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about games as products, because this is something that I care a lot about from my time at Pandasaurus when I was thinking about how can we make this game into something that people want to buy. And it's also something that's just forefront of my mind a lot when I'm looking at games and thinking about, do I want to buy a game? Because there are so many, you guys know this, there's so many good games out now, right? It's really hard to know what to pick up, what to play. And a lot of times as a designer, a game being good enough isn't good enough, right? It's how can I make this stand out from other things on the market, or, what is something I can do component wise or packaging wise?
Yes.
So thinking about games, not just as how do I make it a good game, but how do I make it a good product that people want to buy and put on their shelf?
And I think some people forget about that, for sure. Yeah, what is our topic that we're going to talk about, Shu?
So we're actually borrowing this topic from Alex. So just Alex.
It's all Alex's topics, for this, basically.
Yeah, so because your 2 ideas for topics for the show, the other one was cozy games, which A Place for All My Books is.
So cozy.
And then we're like, oh, wait, we wanted to talk about cozy games anyway, so we're going to incorporate that. That's going to be our topic pick today.
We stole it.
Yeah, so stole it from Alex. So the idea being, what makes for a cozy game? How do you define that? Because we have some recent examples, we'll get into this in the show, of this is a cozy game, but this part's not cozy, so is it a cozy game? So we'll have that discussion and give some examples and talk about a few that we've enjoyed.
Awesome.
So we'll dive into our game picks, where we like to highlight a game we just want to talk about. So let's have... You want to go first.
You go first.
Oh, I'm going to go first.
You like this game.
I do really like this game. So this game, which you can't really tell what kind of game it is, but it's very pretty, is Black Forest by Uwe Rosenberg. And so this came out last year, I believe. And when it first came out, I didn't even know about it. It wasn't on my radar. But our friend Brian had a copy when we did a game weekend, and I played it. And I was like, oh, it's so Uwe Rosenberg. It's so good. Essentially, it's a sort of reworking of one of his classic games called Glass Road. And in Glass Road, you are a glass person, glass maker?
A glass person.
Glass person,
Artisan.
yes. Artisan,
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Okay. And so evidently, when he designed Glass Road, he actually had a much bigger design in mind. And it was more closer to this Black Forest, which involves, very Euro-y looking things, right?
This is if some people are just listening to this.
Yes,
They don't
so
know what
if you
you're
see it
talking
on
about.
YouTube, I've just held up the back of the box, which looks very different from the front of the box. And you are instead a glassmaker in the Black Forest in Germany. And traditionally, there was a really interesting sort of ecosystem that developed. So you would build your glass factory in a part of the Black Forest where there's plenty of trees. Around that glass factory, a village would start sprouting up. Eventually, if you are running sparse on trees, then you sort of shift your whole glass factory to another part of the forest as the forest recovers. And so you continuously move around, villages develop, and you are trying to be efficient in how you are gathering your resources to make glass. The very cool, crunchy, fun, weird bit about this is this huge resource wheel that happens. So you have a resource wheel where you're using all these different ingredients to make glass. Ultimately, that's your goal because you're a glass maker. And on the other side, to travel from village to village, you need provisions. So you have this sort of cooking wheel where you're taking these raw ingredients and cooking for provisions that allow you to move back and forth. But the individual turn is so simple. You are just going into a village, going into a spot between two different crafts people, and you get up to two actions. So you're doing this to gather resources, to convert resources, build buildings. There are animals. They don't breed though. So unlike a classic Uwe game, there's no breeding, which made me a little sad.
You missed the animal sex?
Yeah, I missed the animal sex. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this
that
one.
kind of button.
Yeah, I actually was not that crazy about this game the first time I played it. And then, and Christina's like, I love it. I want to buy it and everything. And then, so we got it. And then when we played it at home, actually we relearned it. I think you taught it, right? And I'm like,
and it was an excellent teach.
It was a good teach. And I'm like, I do like this game a lot better now. So I don't want to name the friend who taught it to me the first time around, but I think that affected how because I'm like, I don't quite understand how everything's working. But on my second play, I definitely grasped it better and I enjoyed it a lot.
The resource wheel is very clever. So
This looks really neat.
Yes.
When you were describing going to a forest, then once it's cut down, you move somewhere else. That's exactly how I play like Age of Empires 2, like other RTS. It's just like, just go and wipe it out.
It's a little gentler, but I see that. I see that. One other thing that I did miss in the rule book, you don't get the little Uwe Rosenberg head popping up to tell you little facts, which is one of my favorite things. I was a little sad about that part.
Oh, yeah, different publisher.
Yeah, different publisher.
Yeah.
Okay. And what game did you bring for us, Alex?
I brought Fission by Friedman Fries. This is a trick taker. I believe it came out earlier this year. I'm just going to confirm on the back. Does it have
Yeah, we played at Essen.
Either
it
late
came out
last
at
year.
Essen,
Yeah,
I
so
think. Mm-hmm.
This
In
is
Germany.
really clever little trick taker. Trick taking is obviously a genre that has gotten very popular lately, and I think some people are wondering if maybe it's sort of had its peak and now is on its way out. But a lot of the really good ones are doing something different enough that they're earning their keep, right? And what I really like about this is it's got I almost use the word legacy. It's not legacy, but you're crafting sort of the deck that you're using for your trick taking. It's persistent from round to round, and the way it works is you've got these suits of sea creatures that you're fishing up, and if you lose a round of the game, so we've collected a few tricks, and I came in last place. I had the fewest tricks. I can actually replace some of my cards or add to my deck of cards from a new stacked deck.
OP deck.
It has things that are just flat out objectively better than the cards we started with. So it's this really fun little catch-up mechanic of I'm getting, maybe this card is a trump suit, or it's just a number that didn't even exist in the game until I drew it into my hand. And so it's just a guaranteed win. And it makes it makes you feel almost like a winner when you come in last place. Mm-hmm. But it's not, there's still a lot of depth of strategy in terms of how you play the cards and how you want to, sort your hand to collect the tricks, but it's got that nice little feel-good moment. You don't just get totally skunked, basically, which is great.
Yeah, the first few rounds of this game, if you're actually winning and you're getting a lot of points,
you actually
start
cards.
feeling bad. You're like, oh no, everyone's getting really good cards but me.
You kind of have to watch the timer for the total rounds so that you're like, okay, well, I kind of want to throw one here so that I have the strength going into like the final.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because Eric Martin from BGG showed it to us after Essen.
From Board Game Geek.
From Board Game Geek at BGG Con last fall. And then he was just like really, really good at it because he'd played it enough to know like sort of like, the tides of like when you should be going high, when you should be going low. And it was really fascinating because you don't want to win everything. And I think a good trick taker, isn't just about like, I want to win every hand. You have to bid to make things interesting. Or in this case, know when to lose so that you can improve your hand or your deck, essentially. So.
Eric, Eric from Board Game Geek showed it to me, and I've never seen him. We run into him all the time at conventions. He's probably the guy we see the most out of any other content channel.
That might be true for me too. He might just be everywhere.
Yeah, I think he's just everywhere. Or there might be multiple.
There's like 6 clones.
Yeah, he's actually triplets.
But I've never seen him beam so much.
He was so happy.
He was like, Shu, have you played this? He's like, he couldn't wait to show it to just more people, right? And then I was like, I had another friend, our friend Tom, who loves trick-taking games. I'm like, Tom showed up. I'm like, Tom, come here. And I asked Eric, can I show him fishing? And he's like, I'll show all of you fishing. And he was just so happy to do so. And we were just all really enjoying it.
Yeah, I have found that people who like trick-taking really like this.
Yeah.
If you don't like trick-taking, I can't promise that this will be the one to sway you. But if you have someone in your life who likes trick-taking, it's a great little compact gift.
Yeah, it's just so, the wide swings are so great about that game. So let's dive into our first topic. I want to talk about cozy games. I wonder, before trick takers go down in hotness, maybe there should be a cozy trick taker.
I wonder if there already is.
I know. Anyway, just thinking about that. Yeah. What is a cozy game to you two? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you just what you just said about a cozy trick taker. I think one of the biggest factors in whether a game could be considered cozy is what type of mechanics are in the game.
Yeah.
So visually, a lot of cozy games present as the theme, but there's a lot of themes that could otherwise be considered cozy that don't necessarily feel like cozy games because it's this very nebulous kind of thing, right? It's almost, you know it when you see it. One of the games I mentioned earlier, Critter Kitchen, that I worked on with Peter Hayward, has a very cozy theme. You've got these cute little animals, you're running a restaurant, it's very happy and upbeat, but that can be savage when you're stealing ingredients from people. So I wouldn't consider that a cozy game just because of the mechanics. And trick-taking, kind of inherent to it, is sort of like this I'm winning and you're losing direct interaction that I'm sure it could be done, and it'd be an interesting design challenge. But,
maybe a co-op a la Crew, the cozy Crew.
Well, you know what? That's great. That's a great point, because it is a co-op, right? So a crew with the game The Crew, which is about working together on a space mission, right, or an undersea mission for the follow-up. If you had a cozier theme, that idea of working together on a trick taker, that could be a good
where you don't die if you mess up. So. What's cozy to you?
Well, a lot of it starts with a theme, right? It has to be a comforting, very low conflict or no conflict type theme where it just feels like this is nice. I can kind of go at my own pace. It has to have these vibes, right? Of like going at my own pace. There's no pressure. There's no hardcore competition or direct conflict. So you kind of start there. And then the mechanics somewhat have to reflect that, I think. It's like why I think your example of making it co-op could work. Because in normal trick-taking games, someone's winning, right? And you're beating everybody. But if you could turn it cooperative, then maybe you kind of remove that part of it and make it cozy. But it's also, I think mechanically, the gameplay has to be friendly too. In like I said, no conflict. It has to be also, I think a simple way to put it is like, you're never going to get mad at anybody, right? Because
or the game,
because no one's going to take something away from you. So for example, I was thinking about this in your game, Alex. You co-designed a place for all your books. There's a lot of little things in there built into it to make it extra cozy, I think, in how I defined it. So as an example, so Christine was describing it earlier, a lot of times you're building your book collection and arranging them in a puzzle-like manner inside your apartment. And what you do doesn't affect other players. Like they can't interfere with that or mess up your puzzle. So you can just spend your time trying to place all the books in different stacks the way you want them to solve different objectives. But then when you go into town to get more books or get more projects or items, the town is a shared board and it's worker placement. But if someone wants to take your space, they can, and they bump you into a space called the park, which just raises your energy. So it's really win-win.
And you go look at the birds and the ducks.
Yeah. So you literally, like, no one can block anyone from doing anything. They can't take say a project card or some books that you were eyeing before you can. So there's a little bit of that, but that's very minor. But everything else is like, hey, it's really friendly. Even when you go into town, you get to take an action right away. When you come back home, you take an action right away. So everything just felt like, hey, you can always pretty much do what you want. It's just up to you to solve the puzzles.
Yeah. And that situation you described where someone might take something you're going for, it's almost, and maybe never, but I'll say almost never just to caveat it. It's almost never a good idea to do something just to hurt another player, right? And I think that is something that's very inherent to a cozy game, right? So if they're taking those things, it's because they need them. And so I feel a little bit less bad about it, right? It's like, oh, I wanted that, but you needed it too, and that's okay.
Now, what if, so the game we talked about for on our Gen Con episode, Floristry, it's a 2-player game from Up Games about collecting bouquets of flowers. So in this, you're collecting they're like domino pieces where each tile has 2 different flowers on it, or it could be 2 the same, but it's flowers on each ends on these rectangular tiles, and you place them onto your board and make larger and larger collections. But to get those tiles, so that to me is really cozy. And you have a little cat figure that goes around and scores for you. There's a little mini cat expansion where just these lazy lounging cats could sit in your bouquet of flowers and they could score points as well. Everything about this is cozy, except for how you get the tiles. So how each round starts is you'll lay out 4 tiles between the 2 players, and then you'll do a Dutch auction on their phone app. So then you just a countdown will start, and everyone starts with 30 money each. And then the countdown starts when both players are ready. And then the price for that current draft will start at 5, then 4, then 3. And then whoever taps it first will get to take their picks of those tiles first. So you're balancing I have to beat my opponent, but I want the price low, but I don't want to overpay for it and then lose too much of the money in my budget. But it's such a big reward because you take your first 3 tiles, you take 3 of the 4 of your choice, and then the other player gets the 1 left over. So that part doesn't feel too cozy to me. So is it a cozy game? There's definitely some subjectivity and some room for.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of a spectrum, right? So I think people have different tolerances for what's cozy. I also think that something that I would consider even a game like Carcassonne to be cozy because it's almost like a comfort food to me because it's something that I've played so many times and it's familiar, and part of the familiarity of it means that I don't mind if I win or lose. I just like the activity of it. And so it's, the context is cozy, not necessarily the game itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I feel a little bit about that way with Takedo, classic sort of game, very beautiful. You're having a nice little travel through Japan. And yes, you are competing for points, but you are rewarded for taking your time and being last. So even when I don't win, it was just a very pleasant experience. And I didn't feel like I was at somebody's throat trying to win,
Takedo has that wonderful mechanic where if someone goes for the thing they want, then you can just hit every little spot behind them on the road. And that's actually very similar to what you were describing in A Place for All My Books, where if somebody kicks you out of a spot, you get a bonus. So it's you're doing something good for you, but then it's also good for the other people. And so it just feels good. It's got a good emotion. You don't feel like the other player's hurting you. It's we both got something.
Yeah. And not to mention, what you do in Takedo, you're stopping by the hot springs, you're shopping, you're
collecting art,
you're painting a scenic
eating
picture,
some dango,
eating great food. So it's very chill and relaxing theme.
Yeah. I think my classic cozy game is probably because you're playing it by yourself, a Gentle Rain, as a solo game, because you're literally just laying out flower tiles and the instructions are cozy. So you just sit down and you learn to play it as you're reading the instructions for yourself. It's a solo game, and it will say get into something comfortable, go brew yourself a cup of tea, put on a blanket, and then start playing this game. And it's very simple rules, and you are just trying to make very satisfying designs that score points. And so it's great.
Do you want to tell them the story about how I made it not cozy for you?
Yes. So context is important for coziness. During COVID, I picked up a Gentle Rain because we were in COVID and I had not much else to do. And so I was like, I want to play some solo games, now that we don't have as many other things to do. Shu was playing Call of Duty, of course. And I was like, we'll
the video game,
yes,
not
we'll
the board
do
game.
Independent play. He'll play video games and I'm going to build my little Gentle Rain nearby in the same room. But the whole time he's playing COD, he's just shouting and cussing, and it was just a huge rain of curse words instead of
not a gentle rain.
No, it was not a gentle rain.
It was a rain of curse words.
It was,
I was playing multiplayer, which doesn't help because then you get angry. That is the antithesis of a cozy game.
And whenever he plays that, he's like, "Oh, I need to play some COD to relax." I'm like, "You never sound relaxed when you play this game. I don't understand. Although cozy video games, huge thing right now too. So,
Sure.
Yeah. I think it's even, I can't remember now, but even at Gen Con when we were walking around the convention hall, some games even label themselves as cozy. I think it's like now a selling point.
It's always been something that exists. Like you were saying, Takedo, that's been around for, 10, 15 years at this point, right? But as a label that's used as a selling point, it's definitely been a newer kind of phenomena. And much like we were saying about trick takers, we'll see how long the cozy wave lasts. But I think that whether or not the label cozy sticks around as a way to sell games, the activity of playing a game that's cozy will always be popular because some people just want their game to be relaxing and calming and, the antithesis of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind my multiplayer solitaire, so it's okay. Did any other cozy games come to mind? You were talking about Floristry, which wasn't really cozy.
Parts of it are cozy.
Parts of it.
And thematically it's very cozy. I don't know, would you call, I was thinking of like something like Nana. Would you call that a cozy game? Because it's like, it's very cute. It's very low conflict. So this is a card game where sort of like Memory meets Go Fish. And much better than either of those two things. But everyone has a hand of cards that are all placed in numerical order. And then there are cards on a table that are face down and you're hunting for matches, three of a kind. So I might like, Christina, what's your highest card? And then Alex, what's your highest card? If I could find the 3 12s or whatever, if I might have one of those, then I cash them in. So, but it feels very like it's not very confrontational. People don't get really mad about it.
It's funny you say that because I was just thinking of the times I've played it. There's almost always a moment where I reveal information in my hand and then someone uses that to steal the card right out of my hand. And that kind of direct removal feels a little bit non-cozy to me.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I think
The
people get sort of tense about the memory aspect, at least old people like us. Kids love this game. So so I think the art on the original Nana, definitely cozy. But I don't know about the gameplay.
I believe I played it with you, Beacon Patrol. That was one of the games that I worked on at Pandasaurus. Did we play that together?
I've never played that.
So Beacon Patrol is a game where it's a cooperative game, much in the kind of same vein as like a Dwarf Romantic or something like that, where we're building this map together, but we're little sailing ships on the North Sea exploring, and you are swapping tiles with each other and building this nice little map. The art style is very cozy, right? It's this very like simple palette line drawing type game. But at the end, it's one of those types of games where your score is, 40 to 50, you did good. 50 to 60, like great job. 70, enough, you're a hero, right? And I think that makes it feel lower stakes. So I think when games have that kind of, you aren't really winning or losing, it's just how well did you do. That feels cozy to me.
Yeah,
I see that. Cozy. We'll see. Maybe there'll be more innovations in this cozy space because I'm down for it. And on the topic that Alex brought to us, can you remind us of it?
Yes. So this was thinking about board games as products, not just games. Yeah.
And so, like, in terms of, like, when you're head of game development at Pandasaurus and stuff, like, you get, pitched prototypes all the time, right? And you get like, okay, this is a pretty solid game, but obviously, like, you want to add stuff to it to make it that better product, right? So what are things you're thinking about?
Yeah, so in game design and also in game publication, the phrase hooks gets used a lot. So a hook is something that draws people in, right? So you can have a thematic hook. So it's maybe a theme that hasn't been done before. You can have a mechanical hook. Here's a new spin on a mechanic that we haven't seen before. Or you can have a component hook. And when I think about games as products, those are all definitely part of it. But specifically the one that really became like a pet project of mine was the component hook. The idea of, is there a unique piece that I can put into this game or a unique way to package it that is going to make it stand out? Because if you think about walking into a game store and just seeing hundreds of games on the wall, what is it that makes you walk up to one instead of another, right? A lot of times that is art, right? Art and graphic design. But I think what you're seeing a lot now is games doing interesting things with packaging. So I know one game that we have played together is Chicken from Keymaster Games. And that comes in it's got a really great art style, but it comes in a tube, right? So it's a dice game, and it feels like something you just want to put in your backpack and take with you because of the shape it's in. One of my designs that came out of Pandasaurus was called Don't Skip Leg Day.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. It's a workout themed game with kind of sushi go sort of drafting mechanics, and it came in a protein shaker bottle, right?
Which you could not use to make a real protein shake.
Well, legally speaking, we had to tell people not to do that, but yes. Yeah. And so, that was, it's funny because it's a double-edged sword, right? So that game definitely stands out on a shelf, but then maybe there's some stores that don't want to carry it because they're like, well, how do I stock a shelf with protein shaker bottles?
Do you have to think through issues like that, like retail shelf space, warehouses, and how they're even packed into containers? Like you have to is that the responsibility of the developer to figure that stuff out?
It depends on the scale of the company, right? At a larger company, I think there would have been someone else in charge of that. At Pandasaurus, I was involved in all those conversations because we were a little bit of a smaller operation. But even things just like, how does this get packed into a case for shipping, right? So most board games come in square boxes so they can be stacked nicely, right? If I have these little protein shaker bottles, like how do I put them in a box in a way that's space efficient and doesn't get crushed or fall over or something like that? But I think in addition to the packaging, then when you actually open the box up, one thing that I think we're seeing a lot of is component hooks in terms of what's on the table. So A Place for All My Books, just to use an example of one of my own one, when you walk by and see that game on the table, you've got physical little books, sort of like Scrabble tile sized books that are stacked up in little piles on people's apartment boards. And it just, if you're walking by, it draws you in because you're like, oh, I can immediately see what that is. That now what's the game about, right? It leads to the next question.
I literally saw this last night.
In action.
In action, because I did take A Place for All My Books, our copy, to a game store where there's a game night, and I was teaching it to a group of 3 or a group of 4. And then we had multiple people stop by to take pictures and ask us what it's about. And they were just curious about the books. They're just like something about the books.
Master manipulation.
Yeah.
I'm curious, at Gen Con, did you all have a chance to play 12 Rivers?
I did.
I did not get to play it yet, but I know that has a very unique component hook.
Super eye-catching.
Do you want to talk about the component hook for that?
Yeah, so for 12 Rivers, it's a foam core board, and Corey Thompson on our last episode actually mentioned it too. But the thing that draws your eye is, first of all, it's like elevated, it's big, and then at the very top, you load it with marbles. So you're like, ooh, marble game. So everybody wants to touch marbles is a thing. It's a known fact. And so, but it's actually more strategic than just like a potion explosion where the marbles are falling down. You are actually spending resources and cards to place your token higher and higher up to dam, because the higher up you get, the more likely you are to get the color you want, and you can guarantee it if you go really far up, but you spend a lot of resources. Or you take your chances going farther down the mountain as the rivers flow into the lake. So you're sort of like figuring out, ooh, what does Alex want? I think he's going to cut me off, so maybe I do need to spend more over here because I really need this purple marble, whatever it is. But everybody was talking about it the whole con because it's just so eye-catching. The gameplay is solid, but without the marbles, it would have been like, sure. You know,
it's interesting because the type of game that does well at a show might be different than the type of game that does well at a board game store or crowdfunding, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times at a convention, it's those types of games that really become popular because you walk by it and you have to play it. And with crowdfunding, that's why you'll see, like on someone's Kickstarter page, you know, if there's a nice visual flair kind of piece you can feature. Actually, I was talking to Joe Wiggins at All Play. He runs the board game division at All Play, and he says for every game he does, no matter the price point, he wants there to be like one component that's just like the standout component. So even if if it's a $20 game and most of it's just punch and cards, I want one really chunky wooden token or something. I think have we played Raw together?
Raw?
Like the classic.
Yeah. We played the re-release one.
The new version of that has this just like absolute chunk of a Raw statue. It's wood that's as thick as it is tall. It's a great hand feel. I think of hand feel all the time when I'm thinking about games as products. Like when I'm touching this, what does it feel like? And when you invoke Ra, when you trigger the auction and you pick that up and you slam it down on the table, it's so satisfying.
Yeah, I think that is a huge part because we like board games because it's an in-person thing. It's a tactile thing. I still remember Genties, this sort of Euro game from years back. And the second edition or the newer printing, they had these deluxe tokens, of course. It was like way back when TMG, I think it was TMG back in the day, really large sort of wooden meeple things to move along tracks. It's completely unnecessary, but I was like, yeah, I want to play with those. I just want to touch them and move them around. So yeah.
That's what the differentiating factor is for board games compared to other forms of play, right? If my board game could exist in the exact same form on a screen and just be a video game. Like, why am I playing it in person? What's compelling me to sit down at the table? So I think about that all the time now.
Yeah. I remember when that edition came out, though, like the purists who were there for like the first edition, they're like, who needs those? I just need cardboard. The gameplay is so good. I'm like, okay, yes, but more people will like it with the wooden parts. With the really big wooden
Or
parts.
let the people willing to spend more enjoy that.
Exactly. Let them waste their money like us. So,
So there's also, this leads to an interesting tangent. Arc Nova, as we speak on this podcast, they're doing the Arc Nova 3 edition, which it sounds like 3D edition, basically. So this is an upgrade for Arc Nova that instead of the flat cardboard tiles, you can either, the first level upgrades is just they can all be acrylic tiles. And so that's strictly for, it just feels better, right? There's no other reason for this. It doesn't change gameplay. But then the next level up is all the enclosures and all the special buildings. So this is a game about building zoos. It's a heavier game, and it's like currently is it the number one game on Board Game Geek right now?
Could be.
Yeah. So like the crowdsourced ratings.
It's the number one game in my heart.
Yeah. And Christina, on our top 10 games of all time, Christina's number one of all time. So, but it's a heavier strategy game about building zoos. And then on your little map, you can build, there's these hex tiles, and you have to place different size tiles onto to show this is an enclosure for my lions or whatever. But they actually now made 3D models for all of these, and they have different specific buildings. So like you might see a little penguin enclosure, or you might see a little I can't remember all the examples, but they're each built with a care to make it look like the real world version of whatever this building might be. Like there's an arcade building that looks like a little arcade, and you can see little people inside playing arcade games. Looks really awesome. But then I kept watching it. I'm like, this is obviously, so I actually did back. I didn't tell you, like, even though it's Christina's favorite game, I'm like, I really like Ark Nova, and I'm like, I'm just going to back her, like, and not tell her I'm backing it.
I backed one too. Oh no.
So, but the 3D buildings are so cool to look at, and the up close, like, renders of the miniatures look really cool. But then I was like watching the videos and stuff. I'm like, I feel
This
like
gets in the way sometimes.
I feel like you have to
Sometimes
stand
it
up and
goes
look
too far.
straight down on your map to see around all these buildings. So I'm like, it's not very practical, but it is kind of cool looking. It's like it's really cute.
Yeah, I think, I love fancy bits. We love fancy bits, but you do run the risk of going a little bit too far. Like the special edition of Castles of Burgundy, right? She went all in on the super deluxe one. Fantastic game. Original game was very much just like cardboard hexes, and you just put them out, whatever, but this deluxeified one, you got the one with all fancy buildings, and it was just too hard to play with.
Yeah,
you couldn't figure out what it did and stuff, so you ended up giving away the fancy buildings except for the castles themselves. So
yeah, I think there's an important distinction point between like deluxeification and overproduced versus having a good component hook. Like you can absolutely have a game that does both, but you can have a game that's just overproduced and doesn't sort of, it's not really a component hook if I'm spending $200 for, like a giant box full of plastic. I mean, it is, but it's you could have a much smaller, lighter game that just has one nice piece, and that could be as or more effective of a sales tactic. If I'm like, oh my gosh, I can get that for $20. Like I think about Azul a lot, right? Like that's a game that if it didn't have those little clicky clackies, the little squares, it would not have done, a tenth as well as it did. But it feels so good.
It's a good game, but
and it's not an expensive
really
game, right?
good.
It's just that one deluxe piece that just feels so good in your hand.
The one game I think of too when you were talking about that is the Oink edition of Modern Art. So this is Oink is a publisher of traditionally more Japanese games, but they made a German edition of this game called Modern Art that's been done by other publishers. It's an auctioning game where there's different styles of auctions to try to get different sets of art. But in this specific edition, I'm not sure if the other ones have this, but there's
some very nice editions out there, actually.
Yeah. But this one, this is the one we have. We have the Oink edition. It has it's a tiny box, so it's really compact, but you squeezed in there is a little wooden easel. Completely unnecessary, but you just stand the current art that's up for auction. We just put it in there and show it to the table. And it's like, that's the piece up for auction. It lifts it up, it elevates it, and it just looks nice. It kind of gives the table some more dimension than just cards.
Especially for a small game. Yeah. I think I've seen some of the other fancy versions. Like there's a Korean version that's really, really nice. And we had Reiner Knizia name dropping, the designer, on our podcast once. And he was saying there was a museum exhibit of just all the different editions that have been published of modern art, because it's been so popular, published by so many different companies. I know, an art exhibit of modern art. And then like some of them come with gavels, and it's just like this very fat, unless that was just our editor Mike.
I was wondering the same thing. Is it our friends upgrade? Our editors upgrade? But
so lots of fantastic editions of that. I was thinking also like one of the first components that really stood out, like, you know, earlier on in my gaming career. It's not a career, nobody's paying me for this.
The gaming journey.
My gaming journey was the squishy berries in Everdell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's because, you know, Everdell, solid game, you know, tableau building. You have all these little forest creatures. Andrew Bosley art is amazing, but it had squishy berries, and everybody just wanted to touch the squishy berries.
And a giant tree in the middle.
And the giant tree. No, squishy berries for me, but yeah.
That's both, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think of other good component examples of like, this probably sold the game as much as anything else?
Sure. Oh my gosh. I should have come in with more examples prep. Okay. Let me think about it. You two keep talking while I think about it.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of like deluxe components versus that singular.
Look at the shelf.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I thought of modern art, because I was like, over. What'd you say? Zolkin.
And then Ross coming up too.
So I don't know if you could hear that, but in a distant, you might have heard a distant voice. That's Peter Hayward, game designer and co-designer of Critter Kitchen with Alex, is sitting over there.
We have hidden game designers all over our house, basically. Yeah.
He's hanging out. But Zolkin, actually, Peter and I talked about this game before because it's one of our faves. In this, it's a Euro game about it's worker placement. So you're putting out workers to collect resources, and you're turning these resources to build buildings or convert into points, go up different tracks or different to show your worship level for different gods. But if you go just look up a picture of this game, there's multiple wheels that are interlocking in this thing that shows the passage of time. So after every round, the center wheel clicks once and it turns all the side wheels with it. And then all the workers that are associated on those spots now advance. So if you leave your workers out and don't take them back right away, they're going to become slowly reach more and more powerful actions. But you only have so much time, and you only have so many workers, so you can't leave them on indefinitely. At some point, you'll have to take them back and trigger that action. Yeah. So it's a really cool game about like balancing when do you put them out, your workers, how long do you leave them out, and all of that. But the wheel mechanism is just very clever, and it's very eye catching as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, you know, we just talked about this again from Gen Con, but, you know, interlocking wheels, the color scheme of Ross, that's an upcoming game to crowdfunding.
The Dance of Love.
Amazing. Like, just stopped me in my tracks. Mm-hmm. And so I had to find out more about it too. So it can do a lot of that. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of when games do well and they're looking to make a second edition, they'll try and do something related to the components. I think Santorini did this, I believe, where like there was the original game and then they came out with the one with the really nice stackable buildings.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was second edition?
I don't know.
There might have been an even nicer second edition.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I've seen some city building games that do like the basic edition is more like cardboard and tile, and then the deluxe has like actual stacking pieces. I think
the reverse was Foundations of Rome.
Yes, yeah.
Where it started off with like gigantic buildings, but then the gameplay was so good. We're like, we want to offer it to people.
Yeah, that's a really good game. That's an example of a game. I think it is a component hook, but you're paying for it, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of the whole thing is the component hook. You know, like when Critter Kitchen was on Kickstarter, it had the basic edition and the deluxe edition, and a lot of the deluxe edition was really nice component hooks. But I don't really think that I wouldn't consider it a game that has a singular component hook. Like it has deluxification, but it's not built around
a lot of things going on. I love the pepper grinder. First, like round marker is my favorite thing. Anyway, I wish pepper would come out of it, but it's fine.
You could probably only fit 2 peppercorns in that thing.
That's all you need. You're a tiny little animal.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was component hooks. And then you were talking about like, you know, as a product, then is there like any other game you think of as like, oh, that was like an all-in-one fantastic packaging of this game?
So there's a company, CMYK, that I think does a really good job of games as product. And a lot of it comes down to their graphic design chops and their packaging. So like, they had one that just came out. I think it was called Hot Streak, right? Where it's you're racing mascots, and the box has one of those like cellophane windows where you can like see through to see the little 3D pieces inside. And it feels like more than a game almost. It feels like it crosses that line into almost like a toyetic kind of product, right? Where it's it's like when you're 7 years old and you like see the G.I. Joe through the window or the Barbie through the window, right? And you're like, oh, I want to touch it. I want to pull it out and play with it. It feels like something I just want to put my hands on, right?
That's so funny because the last 2 podcasts, we've wanted to use that as our highlighted game, but we lent it to our friend, Phil, who took it to a bachelor party. So I'm like, it better come back perfectly in one piece.
This is Phil from 1 Minute Board Games. We were worried because like that cellophane could rip.
It's a bachelor
party.
Lose it's one not of these like figures. A regular game.
That would be a good bachelor party game.
Yeah,
but it would be. That's the problem. We're like, I see it. So
well, there's a couple of wow moments in this game though. It's not just the cellophane packaging, but the race board. So these are 4 mascots racing. Have you seen the full product?
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Yeah. So it's like, there's a little roller tube inside this box. And so you just lay the box at one end of the table and then pull this long track out, and it literally will cover the table. And then when you're done with the game, there's a little wheel on the side that you would rewind it and then roll that track back up. But it just lays out the track on top of which the mascots are running.
I feel like we just talked our way into another component hook. I do also really like what CMYK does just in their aesthetics. Like I think I saw on the shelf behind me a Wilmot's Warehouse, and just the box of that game is just so like, oh, what is that? I want to touch it. Chickens like that too. The art on chicken is I want to touch it.
Yeah, I like their stuff. They also have this line of like 4 of these pink, really bright pink box games. Like we have Duels and I forgot the other one, but it's over there somewhere. Figment, and there's a couple more, but they look really nice. They're just like bright pink, like crazy, like neon pink. There's like day glow pink, and then they're just very simple, minimalist design. It was almost too minimalist. I was like, these instructions are almost hard to read. It's like pink words on white paper. But anyways, there's like very, very slick designs from CMYK.
Yeah, I don't like. Do you have a perfect game as a product? Does anything else come to mind, Shu?
Ooh, I don't know.
Is there a game that you've gifted frequently? I'll use my example while you're thinking, which is I gift Shobu very frequently. Shobu is a game from Smirk and Dagger, it is this very classic looking abstract game. So it's like white and black stones across 4 boards, and you're
very classic gifts.
It looks good on a coffee table, right? It's almost like giving a chess set. It's like, here, I'm giving you a piece of art you can display, right? And I love the game. I love the gameplay, but it just feels there's something next level about how it presents itself, where I feel like if I'm giving it to you as a gift, I'm giving you something that you will treasure and actually use, as opposed to just another board game that might go on your shelf of shame or something.
I like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, because when we gift games, it's usually like it's like a Lost City, something like, hey, this is a very accessible, great introductory game that everyone could kind of get into. But that's a good example of like, yeah, this feels like something nicer, a product, as you say, right?
I've given you something thoughtful, beyond just this is a good game. Here's something special.
Yeah. That reminds me. So this past weekend, Grant Lyon, who's a content creator for Grant's Game Rex, he and I had a marathon 12-hour day of just playing straight back to back 2-player games, and then he hands me this box. He brought a bunch of games over, and he hands me this game called Duat, D-U-A-T. And then when he gave me this box, it's a small square box. Immediately my hand sank. I was like, what the heck? Why is this so heavy? And then so he had me open it up. Inside, it's a board that's only 4x4, like a little grid, 4x4 grid, but it's a heavy concrete block.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like it's like not metal, it's not plastic, it's nothing. It's like, it feels like
you went to Home Depot.
Yeah, you went to Home Depot.
And one of those like cement blocks.
That's great.
Yeah,
like
that
squares.
You're going to pave your driveway with or a walkway with. So it's like concrete. And then the little pieces, each player has 3 pieces. They're like these really I'm not sure of the material, but
is it a concrete abstract?
Oh, that's a good one. That is pretty good.
I have 2 kids, so the dad jokes will flow.
Yeah. So, and yeah, there's these shiny, it's Egyptian themed, and there's these shiny little pieces with, I think there were scarabs on them. And it's similar to, we talked about Shobu while playing that game, because it's the same kind of abstract. You have a few moves to push the other person off of the board sort of thing. But this game was like 95% component, because it was just like this. I said, like, while we're playing, like, this is something you would just leave out on your coffee table and maybe just like take a turn once in a while with your partner or something like that.
Absolutely.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. So just more to it to think than just like, I think a really good design game will, it's just so chancy whether it would catch on, right? A lot of like games that become evergreen and stuff like that. Yes, they were good games, but also I think that product aspect is a huge part of it. Like, can it get popular enough,
absolutely.
Right?
And I did gloss over it a little bit, but art is really important. I mean, it's one of we all know it, right? It's the games that are coming out that are really landing tend to be games with better art. I think the last game that came out that maybe people were like, I don't know if the art's so great, it was like Terraforming Mars or something, right? And then they did another edition with like new art, right? And you'll see that with a lot of classic games, like Agricola just had the new version come out, right, with like new art, and so it's
zombies in one edition,
I didn't know about
in one
that.
expansion, yes.
But like, it's like, okay, we already know it's a good game. How can we elevate it? Let's get a great artist to put their take on it, and that goes into the conversation of what I was saying about when you walk into a game store, what draws your eye, and that is an important part of product.
Well, there's actually one game, you handed us a game at Gen Con, Beasts, that you worked on, right? Designed by
Clarence Simpson.
Yeah. So designed by Clarence Simpson. So this is a game, we talked about it briefly in our Gen Con
wrap up
best of show.
Yeah.
But it's a cooperative game where there's 3 digits. You have a bunch of cards in 4 different suits, and each suit has a subsuit. You can see it on camera right here if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook.
Shiny.
But anyways, the idea is you're collectively getting a 3-digit number up as close as you can to 999 without being able to get rid of all your cards to do so. Anyway, we talked about it before, but one thing I noticed, like, when we played it first, we were immediately kind of awestruck by the art in this game. And then it's not just like the art's really fantastical. The creatures form the numbers. So like if you see the number 7, there's actually a creature that's kind of shaped in a number 7. It's just, every card's really fun to look at. But the suits, so you have your classic playing card suits, but there's also the sub-suits, like
the broken type.
The whole and broken versions. And the broken versions have this gold foil on it, and it just looks like it's kind of almost like these gold veins running through the cards, or something gold leaking.
Is that the kintsugi? Is that correct? Like the broken pottery when you put it.
Yeah, very much.
So I was like, we were just all in awe over how good the game looked, and the game's fun. But this definitely had the art did a lot of the work too, because I showed it again to another group, and they were just kept for like 20 minutes into the game. They're still like,
talking about
look at this art, look at this art. These cards are so cool, and they almost want to buy it. Like they like the game as well. It's a really solid, great game. But the art itself is like really pushed it to another level to where it was really memorable for everybody, and it really made it stand out.
I guess that's the big thing.
Yeah. And it made it so like every moment you're really enjoying looking at the cards. Like there's other like making numbers together games like the Mind or the Game, but those are a little bit more straightforward in terms of their presentation, and they don't look anything like Beasts.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing now. There's just, like you said, there's so many games. How will people remember your game, right?
Yes.
It could be a very good gameplay, but still that's like, we have to get through the game and be attracted to play the game in the first place. But, if we play so many games, if we forget the name of it, it's like, oh, it's the one with this.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
And I think playing the game in the first place is the biggest part of what good product can do, because, board games are a smaller industry than a lot of other things. Outside of Kickstarters running ads, most games don't really have advertising. So the advertising for a game is the game itself. When you walk into a game store and you're looking, hey, what do I want to play? You're looking at the box, you're looking at the art, you're looking at the product. If you're walking around at a gaming convention and you see it out on a table, that is the marketing for the game. So in a sense, the product is your marketing as well.
Yeah.
So it has to deliver on, get you in the door, basically, right? So if I see the box of Beasts, even if I don't know anything about how to play the game, if I pick it up, I'm like, what is this? I want to know more.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, because my final thought on this is we were talking to some illustrator once, or somebody who was talking about game art. And I was like, why are some of these classic Euros so ugly? Right. And then like they've actually talked to some of the developers at that point, and they were like, for this type of game, like a typical Uwe Rosenberg game, let's say, as an example, they're like, we use the same artist because people will know what to expect from it. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like this weird sort of cartoony flat art, but dry. And then if somebody sees it, they're like, well, I know what kind of game I'm I'm in store for me, you know? So that's an interesting point. But I think as the industry changes and there's like more different kinds of games, that's obviously not working as much anymore, because Black Forest looks very, very different, at least on the cover.
Yeah, for the cover of the Black Forest, you couldn't tell it's a Uwe Rosenberg game.
Yeah.
I love that anecdote, though, because it's saying that it was still an intentional choice.
Yes.
It was still trying to signal to its audience at the time what you're getting if you open this box. And that's what all of what we've been talking about is. It's letting people know, hey, you want to play this, and here's why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So that's food for thought. Tell us what you think. And thanks so much to Alex Cutler for joining us today. Had a lot of fun talking to you. We're going to play games after this too, so it'll be great. And then thanks to our amazing editor, Mike Zipkin, for editing us and making us sound great. And now...
where can we find you? You're not really on social media too much,
Not
right?
so much. I deleted my Twitter, now X. I'm on Instagram as, I think, a Cutler89.
Okay.
And then I'm on Facebook. It's a small enough industry. Feel free to Facebook friend me.
Okay, cool. I mean, you can always Google Alex Cutler on Board Game Geek. And
yes,
see
I have a BGG page. So,
okay, cool. Yeah. Looking forward to more of your designs. I know a lot are in the works. And then we will be at BGG Con, Board Game Geek Con, in November. So hit us up if you're going to be there too. We're going to run our live event as usual. And now you can stop listening and go play a game. Bye.
Bye.